Yo, happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Cash Physical Therapy Headquarters podcast. Today, we're going to talk about how to decide what actually matters. How do we continue to grow quickly while minimizing the amount of overwhelm that has become synonymous with entrepreneurship due to the hustle and grind culture that's really got started decades ago. But with today, the tools and the things that are at owners' disposals, like they're disposals, like it's like it's plural. At owners' disposal, there is so much opportunity to grow and to impact a ton of people's lives without your life becoming absolute chaos. So today we're going to talk about this in length because it's something that I had to learn and escape from. And there's a lot of habits that I had to break before I ever started to find the growth and success within clinical marketer. And Ben, I know it's the same for you. Both of us started out just hustling and grinding and stressing our way to success. And at a certain point, we hit a ceiling, and that no longer served the growth that we're trying to create. So I'm pumped to talk about this one. I know you are too.
Yeah, no, it's made something that I think you do have to hustle a little bit at the beginning, but the people that work smarter and hustle harder are going to outbeat the people that are just working hard. So it's important to focus on the right things.
Right. And so we got to realize that growth and hustle, like these things are seasons. You should be able to outgrow like the hustle and grind. And maybe there's new initiatives you create, and maybe like there's a few quarters where you got to put in, work more than you normally do. Those things are expected. But when it becomes a habit to perpetually be creating these massive to-do lists and constantly be stressing about the next thing that needs to get done, and there's very little thought or prioritization into what are the things that I'm actually doing and reflecting over, is this actually growing the business? Well, now it turned from hustle and creating and growth and turned into something completely else that is counterintuitive to what it is that we're actually trying to create. So I think today let's chat a little bit about like, how do we determine what's actually important on our to-do lists? Because most people that we talk to, they're watching reels, they're on YouTube, they're learning all this stuff on AI, on marketing, on different ways to structure our programs. How do we create monthly recurring revenue and predictable growth in our business? And they're getting all these ideas, and it turns into this massive just table of sticky notes and to-dos, and it's ruining the success that people could be having if they just had more clarity.
Right. Yeah, and it just makes it so overwhelming too when you have all those things, and that's the biggest thing that plagues people at the beginning stage. There's so many things to do that they get paralysis by analysis, and they feel like they're making progress because they're consuming content, which makes them feel good.
Yeah.
But they're not putting in the work of actually implementing. And Hormozy talked about this like on before one of his trainings, like, if you're gonna just watch this and not implement, like go watch Netflix. There's much better ways to get entertainment than listen to me talk on this. So only watch this that's actually going to implement. Otherwise, it's just entertainment, and there's a lot better entertainment out there. So.
Right. It's this like illusion of progress where it's like a lot of people's businesses die before they're actually dead, just because the owner is so stuck in their heads, over analyzing everything, never feeling like they're actually ready to get started, always second guessing, is this the right thing for me to work on right now based off this other thing that I could be doing? And they never actually focus. They never actually take the action that would give them the clarity they needed to find whatever step 2 is going to be. So early on for you, Ben, how did you find like your focus? How did you prioritize the tasks that you're working on?
Yeah, I think it was more so just like speed to implementation. There were some things I wasn't quite sure of what I should be working on, but some people like overanalyze on what is that number one thing, and then just not, or it takes longer to do it. So it's like failing faster. So I think that was kind of my superpower was just going for it as well. And then, but yeah, I mean, the big thing was just I did analyze numbers as well, like KPIs. That was something I tracked very early on. So that helped me make decisions, right? And I think it also comes down to it's common sense when you really step back and look at it and don't get emotional about it. But it's like, hey, do I really need actually more leads when I talked to 10 people today, only one moved forward with scheduling an appointment. I wonder what's an easier thing to do, get better at sales or try and pump more leads into here, So I don't know, somebody just came, I don't know if that's something that I feel is common sense. That's not, but I think that's really what it comes down to is there is some common sense that just comes to this, where that's how you have to make decisions too. So I think that's the biggest misconception I see people make. It's like, I need more leads. It's like, no, you're looking at this problem incorrectly.
Right. And that's like the biggest problem we see all the time. Everyone thinks they have a marketing problem. It's like, no, you have a systems problem. Okay. You can't just expect every single person to find your business and to look at it and see your value the same way a referral does. Okay. There's a reason why, like, the biggest companies in the world, they have these really big, robust client experiences and journeys because they take ownership over the systems that create their dream customer. Okay, most business practices that are struggling, they're waiting for their perfect customer to come to them, and they're blaming their marketing agency or their marketing coach or whatever that their dream patients aren't showing up and walking in their door every day. But the businesses that are growing the fastest, the CEOs that are the most relaxed, they are that way because they've built the system that creates their dream customer. They can relax because they're not worried about their marketing suddenly falling through the floor because they know they created a machine that creates that customer. It doesn't matter how hot or familiar that lead is. They have a process to turn them into the person that's ready to buy from them. And that's a whole nother story.
Yeah. How'd you go? I mean, I guess my answer really wasn't really that helpful. I said use common sense, but you have a better answer. I guess what was your process on deciding on what to?
I was the same. We're no common sense at first. It took me a lot longer than most people do to develop any kind of common sense. Like I was the guy. I started young. Right. So I'm in college and I gave up a lot of my college years to work. I didn't go to I partied, but I didn't go to most parties. I was stayed up and I'd be working till 2, 3 in the morning, just staying busy. Always had a wall full of sticky notes and told myself that moving those sticky notes was momentum. That was creating growth. And it took years of working as hard as I could for as long as I could and not getting anywhere to realize that, okay, not all tasks are created equal. Just because I work hard doesn't mean I'm going to be successful. And that real success comes from being able to sit down, slow down, take a look at the lay of the land and figure out what's the one thing that's going to move the needle the most. What's the big domino? I don't remember what that book is. Do you remember a book that talks about the big domino? What's that one thing that if I can just knock this task over, it's going to make all my other tasks easier or unnecessary?
I don't think I've read that one.
I don't remember. It's a common analogy. The book that I'm reading right now that inspired this episode is called The One Thing by what's his name? It's Gary Keller, The One Thing. I started reading it. I've seen it a million times to the point where I thought I read it. It's a really popular recommended book, but I finally picked it up and it even uses the domino effect analogy in there, but that's not where it originates. But it's basically I had to realize that in order to speed up growth, you actually have to slow down. And I didn't really realize that until COVID happened, when I literally didn't have a million things I could do. I was very limited in the things that might solve cash flow problems for a business where most of my clients are shut down. And so all I had was time to think about how I can solve this. And that taught me slowing down, is really the key to figuring out how to grow quickly, which is kind of like an oxymoron.
Yeah, that makes
Like
sense.
for you, I feel like compared to how you started, your days now, not just because you've delegated most of the responsibilities of the clinic, but how you make decisions is very slow. And it's where we got, in clinical marketer, one of our core values, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. But we got that pretty much from working with you and watching how you operate. So can you kind of talk about your team's process on how you identify what the issues are and how do you effectively knock out those to-do lists?
Yeah, it's nice right now. Like, so I've got 3 other people in leadership position, so it's really nice to be able to bounce ideas off of somebody else. So we've got 4 brains on this call, and they're all really sharp individuals. And so it's fun. Like, all right, what do you guys? I like to ask them, what do you guys feel is the bottleneck? And 9 times out of 10, they're right. In my opinion, we all agree on. Okay, great. Well, let's discuss this and solve it. So it's IDS. I come from fraction. So we need to identify the biggest bottleneck right now. Let's discuss it. Why is this a problem? Okay, great. Now let's solve it. So that's all it is identifying different problems and then figuring out, hey, what is the one thing that if we fix this, we'll move the needle the most. And okay, great. We discuss it. Now let's solve it. And we come up with an action plan. And then for the quarter, that's the only thing that we focus on. And we meet on a weekly basis and we discuss, okay, great. Where are we at on solving this one thing? And that's what it comes down to. Are there other things that we talk about on our monthly team or our weekly meetings of other things that need to be solved? Yes. But again, we don't lose sight of the number one thing. Like, for example, last quarter, we had a sales issue, an in-person sales issue with two of our clinicians. And so we just doubled down on that. Okay, what do we need to do? We need more. We meet with them on a monthly basis. We need more touch points. Yeah. So we're like, my clinic director's like, well, usually all the meetings are usually an hour long, like the monthly. I'm like, we don't need a whole hour. Like, we don't need to be blocking off an entire hour to block off time for patient care on both sides. Because that's essentially each hour slot is $240 value. You have 2 clinicians meeting, that cost me $480 for an hour meeting. Right. So what we did is we transitioned to and the thing too is like on a weekly basis, you overwhelm people by having an hour meeting of all the things they need to change. So what we did is we switched it to a 10 to 15 minute non-scheduled meeting where they just touch base with the clinician on how things been going this week and what they're struggling with and how they can support. Right. So instead of these hour-long meetings, we just made it into 15 minutes and it made it much more easier for schedules to align. But now there's much more touch points, and because you're getting feedback on a weekly basis and not being overwhelmed with a full hour meeting and just giving one, again, goes back to giving them the PTs one thing to focus on for sales this week. What is one tactic that you're going to work on, right? Instead of be like, hey, you need to get better at sales. No, let's figure out bite-sized chunks what to work on. So you can see how it trickles down, not just from leadership, but also into the struggles that clinicians are having too, focusing on one thing as well. So that's how we went about solving it, right? But like, it took some time to think about that 15-minute meeting and just more frequent feedback. So that's an example.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like the majority of the results you want are going to come from like the minority of the things that you're actually doing. So like for you, you could have gave them all this whole robust training guide of here's all the things that you're doing wrong. But if you did that, it'd be overwhelming. They wouldn't implement any of it, or they would, but it would suck across the board. But you knew that the biggest result was going to come from just focusing on this one small piece. It's that's the 80-20 rule or Pareto's rule, something like that. There's an official name for it, but it's like most people, they're trying to do so much because they're trying to control the situation way more than they ever possibly could. Like I think a lot of people, when they're thinking of a task, they're thinking of here's all the ways that it could go wrong. Like, what if this happens? What if this happens? And then this, what we once was a really simple task that you probably could have knocked out right away, turned into this huge, massive project that was doomed from the beginning because it's way too complex. So I like the way you like simplify it. It's like, all right, we're going to do one thing at a time. What's the smallest thing that we can do that's going to have the biggest impact? And I think that's something that if you're listening to this, you should apply to your to-do list. Look at all the things that are on there. I would be willing to bet a lot of that is stuff that you had on there weeks ago, maybe months ago. And it's been on your to-do list, stressing you out, taking up some of your mental bandwidth every single day that you've been hanging on to it. And if it's still on there weeks later, maybe it doesn't even need to be there, because what's been the consequence of not having it done? Is it that big of a deal? Maybe you need to crumble that one up, throw it on the floor, and take a look at what are the things that are on my to-do list that are going to produce the vast majority of the results that I'm looking for. We actually had a similar situation where we had the team. I know the AI that we're working on, for triaging and booking calls with leads.
Yep.
Okay. So we had the team start to work on that one. And it was taking a little bit longer than expected. So we checked in with them. It's like, how's this going? Where are we at with it? And they said, like, it's going pretty good, but we're stuck around all these other random use cases. Like, if someone's trying to break it, it's starting to say like weird stuff. Well, it's like, well, why? Like, what percentage of the people are going to start saying weird stuff to the bot just to break it? It's like, what's this small use case that we're stressing over that's preventing us from moving this thing forward? And so we simplified it. It's like, all right, we know that we're building this because a ton of our clients have a terrible speed to lead rate. It takes them forever to get back to the texts that they're getting from leads because they're seeing patients. Okay. So the one thing that we need this bot to do, all it needs to do is follow up with them and book a discovery call with them at the time that they responded with. Okay. That's going to drive 80% of the results we're trying to create. It's super simple, but as a team, they overthought, they overanalyzed, they try to solve problems before there were problems, and then it turned into this big project that never got done until we simplified it. So, yeah, you just need to look at your list and think about like what's like 80% of the stuff we should light on fire, and focus on just this small piece that's most likely going to move the needle.
Yeah, there's things on your to-do list that don't actually need to be done.
Right. There's some I was trying to think of some cool examples of like people who use the one thing. And did you ever hear some of the stories of how dating apps like launched, like the biggest ones of, I don't know if they still are today. I haven't been on a dating app in a while, but like, did you ever hear some of their launch stories? So I'm using these as examples. These aren't from the book. These are just my favorite ones of like companies that discovered their one thing and then focused on it and just hammered it and just only did that. Bumble did this thing where, I don't know if people know this, but like to get any sort of app to be successful and scale is insanely hard. Getting people to actually adopt the behavior of using an app every day, because the valuation of apps is based on daily users. Average daily users. And so what Bumble did when they first launched is they went to every single campus and they hung up all of these posters inside of classrooms that said no Facebook, no Instagram, and no Bumble. Okay. Professors never took it down because they're like, yeah, I don't want people like on their phone. So it looked like something the university hung up. But then every single student that sees that, they're obviously like still going to use Facebook and Instagram. But now who the hell is Bumble? And why are they up there next to Instagram and Facebook? So it gave it an immediate like status, but it got people, it had this viral effect of everyone downloading it to figure out what it was. That was their one thing. They could have wasted millions using apps and pushing with like paid ads and had this huge campaign, which is where like no man's land of apps go to die. But instead, they found this one crazy cheap method created a viral growth effect. And that's why Bumble was one of the most successful dating apps.
That's wild. I did not know that.
Tinder has a similar thing, but they had hot girls walk into classrooms wearing like the branded Tinder shirts. and they would just go in and sit in on classes. And that was how Tinder like exploded. All the guys being like, who is that and what's Tinder?
Interesting.
That was their one thing.
Yeah, so you always come back to college campuses.
Mm-hmm. Yep, at least for them. So insanely simple. Like the one thing that could create the most growth within your business, odds are it's something that's insanely simple. And most of you, you're so anxious and so worried of not having control over your business that you're making everything way harder than it actually needs to be. And for me, everything started to click when I slowed down and I focused on doing less, working less, making sure the thing that I'm working on is actually going to move the needle. What's the number one thing that you're working on right now in your business, Ben?
Now it's our speed to lead. So we're hiring for another salesperson. That's the thing too, is like we just looked at the data. Where was our ROI breaking down on Facebook ads and a speed to lead? Mm-hmm. And well, why is there speed to lead? Is it a personnel issue? Or is it a volume issue? It's a volume issue. And so like, okay, we just don't have the manpower. We've got too many leads. We need more manpower to handle the leads. Okay, great. How do we solve that? We need to hire. Okay, how do we hire for that? So that's what we're working on right now is solving and bringing on another salesperson for that role. So.
Yep. We identified ours is lead nurturing, making sure that before people get on the call with us, they have a stronger relationship with us. They understand exactly who we are. That increases show up rate. That increases close rates. It increases average order value because they're more confident that their investment's going to be worth it. And I see that with a lot of practices as well. Like your lead nurturing mechanism is definitely like the weak point. So I think it's to give some like tactical guidance for people. It's like you got to start with the macro: lead acquisition, lead nurturing, conversions, fulfillment, retention. Which one of those is the biggest issue for your practice right now? And if you don't know, run a mild projection, map out your numbers, and if each one increased by 5%, which one is going to have the biggest impact on profit? That's where your biggest constraint is going to be. Whichever one has the biggest impact, if you change it a little bit.
I'll give you guys I'll answer that question for you. For 90% of people listening, will be first phone call.
Yeah.
Phone call. That's all it is. It always comes back. It's always, we've helped over 1,000 different clinics now. Number one is always phone call conversions. Number two is in-person conversions. That's all it is. It's not more leads. It's not any of that. It simply comes down to that phone call, and then once they're in person.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Totally agree. Even if you have a bad close rate, odds are it's not the close rate. It's the expectations you set on that first phone call. Mm-hmm. The PT is probably doing everything great. The person just coming in with the wrong expectations, causing them to need to think about it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yep. So I want to share just a couple things that I learned. This next one's from Alex Hermosi, which has been extremely helpful because for me, I'm an ideas guy. I'm visionary through and through. And so figuring out which one to implement and when, this framework has been extremely helpful. It's called the ICE formula. So ICE, acronym for impact, confidence, and ease. So if you have multiple ideas and you're thinking about something you want to try this quarter, next quarter to, continue to grow and scale the business, you should map out each idea. What is the impact in terms of revenue or profit growth I'm expecting to happen as a result of implementing this? Give it your best estimation. Use data if you got it. And then how confident are you that this plan is actually going to work out as, a scale of 1 to 10? And then E is for ease. How easy is it to execute this plan? And what you're left with is an estimated increased profit projection. A scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that it'll work? And then on a scale of 1 to 10, how easy is it to implement? Take the sum of all of those things, and you'll see which one of these ideas makes the most sense to implement first. Because if one might have a huge upside, but you're not that confident it's going to work and it's going to be difficult to execute, well, then the easier plan that has higher confidence, that might have a lower upside, is probably the thing that makes more sense to spend your time on over the next month or quarter. So that's the framework that we're using now to prioritize different projects and tasks. That's helped me a ton. Have you started using that in your practice at all, Ben? I know we talked about it in the last scaling workshop, but
no, we haven't yet. No.
Yeah, you're kind of beyond that. You got you got your rhythm down for sure.
Yeah, we got a good flow with the L10 meetings. That works out really well.
Yeah. All right, let's go into this because here's a quote I want to read from the book The One Thing that I recommend everyone read. When everything feels urgent and important, everything seems equal. We become active and busy, but this doesn't actually move us any closer to success. Activity is often unrelated to productivity, and busyness rarely takes care of business. I thought that was activity is often unrelated to productivity. I thought that was super powerful. And that leads me to my question for you is, people feel like they need to get so much done and it leads them to multitasking because they think they're being productive. What is your stance or opinion on multitasking?
Yeah, I mean the data is out there. Just it doesn't work. It's simple as that. And be
Why do
kind
you think everyone's so obsessed with it or like proud of it?
Read the book 4,000 Weeks. That talks about
It's a heavy one.
and it's more so about like people realize that there's only a finite amount of time and want to get as much done as humanly possible with that. It also talks about how settling is not always settling either. There's just things in life with how short it is. You have to more or less be content with certain things to be able to progress further in life. I think that's the same thing with business. Like you can't have there's things in business that just aren't going to be perfect, and you can't get hyper focused on perfecting one aspect because it's going to get in the way of you being able to move the needle in other aspects of your business. Right. So like I think about people over fixating on social media posts. Like, oh, I need to make it perfect. I need like perfect background music, all this stuff. And that just doesn't move the needle. Like that editing that people aren't even going to notice, and it's taking so much time away from other things that are moving the needle. Like go call your damn leads, follow up with your leads a second time. Instead of spending time editing your post that's going to get a reach of 10 people, and it's so
right. Stop trying to do all these things. Get one. Sheila taught me this, our client success director, but focus, follow one course until success. And I struggled with this for so long. And you actually helped me fix this issue where it was, every week we'd run our L10 meeting and there'd be new to-dos and there'd be tasks from the previous week that weren't done yet. And it would feel like we're always behind. Because I had this belief that if we don't keep moving forward, if we don't keep getting tasks done, we're not moving. And paradoxically, the more things that we're trying to get done, the less we were actually moving. And so I asked you, like, what's the difference between your L10 meetings and mine? And you said that if the things that we worked on last week to solve the one thing we identified was the problem isn't done, we don't move on to anything else. We focus on that until we either solve that constraint or we realize that that's not the real constraint. And that was actually pretty big for me, of like being okay with like letting some things be on fire because it's not the one thing.
Yep.
So it's okay for some things in our business to be on fire. They should be on fire, because if nothing is on fire, you're not actually growing, and it's a sign that you're not actually prioritizing stuff.
I think it also works really well in the leadership aspect side of things too. Like my clinic directors, I have a one-on-one L10 meeting with them for each location. So Oakland, I have a meeting with the Oakland clinic director once a week, and it's always, hey, how did the number one task go? Didn't get done? Great. That's what the task can be for next week. When are you going to get bored of this being the same task that we need to get done over and over again? And I think having things on fire on the side, like they bring other problems to me as well on these meetings. And like, okay, we can fix that once this one thing's fixed.
Yeah.
So like they had this, like the other things are on fire, and they're like, I need to get to these other things that are on fire.
Mm-hmm.
But I know Ben's not going to allow us to focus on any of that until we focus on this one thing. And I know it's the most important thing too. We're on the same page. I'm going to dial in on this so we can start moving on to these other things that are a pain in my ass as well. I'm trying to think of an example of this. We wanted to, with the sales, in-person sales has been an issue for a good 3 or 4 weeks in a row. And we wanted to put on this event at the new space. And I was like, nope, not important. But she's like, everybody, like the team wants to do it. They're really excited about it. They're, I think it'll help with team morale and all that stuff. I'm like, great. That's definitely important, but we're not focusing on any of that. We're not going to throw this party.
Yeah.
It's not the thing that's going to move the needle. And she was really excited about the event, and so was I. But at the end of the day, like we're not focusing on that or doing that until this one thing's fixed. And then she passed that down to the staff too. It was like, okay, we got to turn the sales issue around if we want to do this, right? So it got passed down from me to her, then her to the team. Okay, now they have motivation to do it. So then we got it fixed. Great. Now we can focus on what everybody wants to be focusing on.
Right. Make them earn it. Not that they haven't. Your team's amazing, but it's like there's a time and a place, and you can't just focus on a different problem because it's more comfortable to focus on. I think that's what a lot of people do, where it's like they focus on the problem that they're the most comfortable with, not realizing it's the one that you've been procrastinating on that's actually keeping you stuck in this loop.
Right. Yeah, of course you want to plan a party. That's fun.
Right. Right. So there's for those of you who wear your ability to multitask with a badge of honor, there's a study that I wish I remembered which school it is. Like my brain wants to say Stanford, but it was one of those kinds of schools. And the author of the book, The One Thing, Gary Keller, he was obsessed with this idea of multitasking. See, he always felt like he was so far behind everybody else, and he just couldn't multitask. He's tried, he just can't do it. And he became obsessed with figuring out, like, why can some people do this? Is it like a personality type? Is it a skill set that can be developed? What's the deal with it? And so he tracked down all of these like reputable multitaskers, people that like teach people how to multitask. And they did a study where they took all the multitaskers versus just people who kind of I think they said that they were like okay multitaskers, and they gave them a set of things to do. And they had 6 different measurements on productivity and effectiveness and quality. And the multitaskers got obliterated in every single category. They didn't win in a single category in effectiveness of getting things done. And so multitasking is an absolute lie. So I guess I'm telling everyone this to let you know that it's okay to slow down. It's okay for things to stay on your to-do list for a while. It's okay for things to be on your to-do list for a couple days, and then you just get rid of it altogether because it's not actually important. But whatever it is you're doing, if you're stressed out from all the things you have to do, stop trying to do all of it and extend the time horizon that you're giving yourself permission to get these things done. And you're not only going to find that you're getting the right things done more often, but you're also way less stressed out because you're giving yourself grace and time. But because you're actually getting things done rather than getting a bunch of things kind of done, you have like, I went through this exact same thing. And I just, as a person, I'm so much lighter. I'm so much happier. I'm getting everything done. Business is growing way more because I just have one thing that I tell myself, if I get this done today, it was a win.
Yep. Yeah. That's all it is. It's also eat the frog, do the hardest thing in the morning. Everything else is easy. So
100%. All right, everybody. Ben, anything you want to add to this?
Nope. The thing too is, there's always that one thing, but also just the speed to just do it is important too.
Mm-hmm. So. That's right. You can just do one thing every day focus it in the beginning of the day so you can knock it out, get it done. You're going to move so much faster than if you're trying to do 5 things a day. Okay.
Yep.
Awesome, everybody. Thanks for listening. If you got value out of this, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next week on another episode.